Hey, what up? What up? It's Friday. Friday. Second Friday of the year. So let's get this stuff knocked out. Notes today are going to be pretty short. All right. As you can see right here, this is about it. So we're going to have you a nice, easy Friday. Get these notes taken care of. Little assignment to follow, and then we'll be done for the week. So, like we've done so many times before, first thing you're going to need to do is go pop open your digital notebook. If you're doing one physical notebook, one on paper, go ahead and get that out. We're going to have some stuff to fill in today. So let's scroll down right past where we left off yesterday, or not yesterday, but the last day we took notes. Should be right there after the middle and southern colonies. And we're going to go up here and grab another slide. And we're just going to put in a blank piece of notebook paper. All right. So let's get back into our Canvas page. And let's copy and paste the notes for today. So we're going to hit it right here. Copy those. We're going to go back to our notebook. And we're going to put them in here. All right, once again, let's blow these jokers up. I don't think I got that top line. Come on. There we go. Got them all that time. Think we did 32 on our last notes. For the font size, let's squeeze these out. And I'm going to just shift it up just a tad here. And we're good to go. All right. So as you can see here, you've got one little fill in the blank one here that'll be on the slide. And then you've got three items down here that you're going to need to fill in some information about. Let's see. Let's put a little space in there. Okay. So go right there in front of that growth of representative government, hit enter. Let's put a little space in there. Things were getting crowded there. All right. So let's get started. So this is where we're going to be today. Slideshow from the current slide, which is right here. All right. So this is where we are today. We're going to talk about something known as representative government. Okay? So representative government. It is a government made up of representatives. Okay? So as you see right here, it says a government made up of people that are chosen. Okay? Here in a month or two, we're going to have an election. Okay? That's where we choose these people. So a government made up of people that are chosen or elected by the people of their town or their state or the entire country. It can be any of those. And these people are supposed to represent the beliefs of the larger group of people. Okay? So maybe we've got 100 people. They select one person to be their representative, and that person will then go and represent the whole group, voice their opinions, their concerns, and whatnot on behalf of those people. Bell's ringing. So you may say, well, why do we need representatives? Why don't we just let everybody have a vote? Well, if you have a small group of people, you can do that. But as cities and states and countries grow larger and larger and larger to the point where you got hundreds of millions or even like in the case of China, billions of people, it just becomes too complicated and too cumbersome for every single person to get to have a voice. And so that's where we turn to representative government, because we're able to take large numbers of people and allow them to be represented by a much smaller group of people who will represent those people and voice their opinions and concerns and have discussions and then develop our governments as we would like for them to see. Okay, so let's go right down here. This is going to be your first notes, your first, the fill in the blank part that I showed you a while ago. Why did the colonists feel the need for representative government? Okay, they came from England. England has its own government. England has its own king. So why do they need their own government? Well, it's right here. Since the colonists were so far away from the King of Britain, they decided to make their own rules. Now, was it, hey, we're too far away, there's nothing he can do to us, so we're just going to do what we want? No, not really. That really wasn't what they were saying. Basically, here's the problem. You've got the entire Atlantic Ocean in between England and the United States. And back in those days, it took months to get from one place to the other because you had to travel the entire length of the ocean. So if important things in the American colonies needed to be decided, all right, a lot of times you couldn't wait for months for your question to get over to England and then England to send the answer back. It just didn't work. So what the people decided to do was, we will make our own rules. Now, were they still technically under England and the king and parliament that we'll talk about here in a little bit? Yes, they were, okay? But they needed something practical that was here in our colonies to run our government when we didn't have time to wait on England to give us their opinion. So, since the colonists were so far away from the King of Britain, they decided to make their own rules. So you might hit pause here, go over to your notes, and fill those in. All right, next slide. So, the growth of representative government. So there were 3 documents, or not necessarily 3 documents, 2 documents, and then an organization that was formed that we're going to talk about really quickly here, okay? So the first one, and this is on your notes as well, the first one, and we've already talked about this, is the Mayflower Compact. Okay, this was one of the earliest, it was the first document in the United States, or what would become the United States. They're still colonies right now. But it's the first document that would create a self-government in America. The Pilgrims came over. Before they got off of the Mayflower, all of the men of the group that was arriving there got together, and they decided that they would draw up this document, which would basically list the rules and responsibilities of people who were going to be living in Plymouth. And every one of those men signed their name to it, stating that they agreed to abide by these laws, as well as their family and so forth. Okay, so the Mayflower Compact was the first document to create self-government in America. You may want to go put those words right there in your notes. You can hit pause and come back. All right, another one that we have talked about, we mentioned this in the New England colonies with Connecticut, was the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut. Now, the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, what you need to put beside that is the first written constitution in the colonies. And what a constitution basically is are the laws. It is basically the outline, the laws, the rules for how a government is going to be organized and set up. It says what the government is going to be able to do, how it's going to be able to do it, what is allowed, what is not allowed, and so forth. And the people of Connecticut, along with Thomas Hooker, who presented the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, they basically introduced our first written constitution. All right. You may want to go back, hit pause, put that in your notes before we go on. All right. And then the next thing, this one right here is not a document. It is a group of people, okay? And this was the Virginia House of Burgesses, okay? The Virginia House of Burgesses. And this becomes the first representative legislature in the colonies. And basically what legislature means is it is a law-making group of people. It's kind of like Congress today, the House of Representatives and the Senate. They are the people that we elect to represent us in the United States government, okay? And they are responsible for creating laws in our country. So here in Virginia, they were the first colony in America to do this, to elect a group of representatives that would represent the entire colony and create laws that would have to be followed by the people living in this community. George Washington at one time was a part of the Virginia House of Burgesses. Another guy named Patrick Henry, which we will talk about later, was also a member of the Virginia House of Burgesses. Okay, so these three things, the Mayflower Compact, the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, and now the Virginia House of Burgesses, were three examples of the growth of representative government here in what would become the United States. Okay, so you may want to go back to your notes real quick and write in there, first representative legislature in the colonies. Basically, a group of people elected to write the laws for that particular place. Now, where do we get this idea of representative government from? Well, it's not something unique to America. It's not something that we over here came up with on our own. I mean, the idea of democracy, letting the people rule, we trace that all the way back to the Greeks and so forth, but about representative democracy and allowing the people have a voice, this goes way back in England as well. As far back as 1215, there was a document written called the Magna Carta. The Great Letter is how that would translate. This is Latin here, okay? So the Magna Carta forbid the king from being completely all-powerful. The king at that time, I believe it was King John, was a bit of a jerk, and he was kind of a tyrant. And the people of his country and his kingdom got tired of it. And some of them were very wealthy, some were very powerful, and they threatened the king that if he did not agree to give the people a voice, to give them some say-so in their government, that things might get out of hand for him. And they were eventually able to force him into agreeing to this Magna Carta, which first gave the English people, like I said, a voice in their government. Over in England, they have something known as Parliament. It's a group of elected people who make their laws. It's very similar to our Congress here in the United States, and it was kind of a precursor of the House of Burgesses, a group of elected lawmakers. And then down here, England also had something known as the Bill of Rights. We have the Bill of Rights here in the United States. England had one as well, and it was basically a document that listed out the specific rights that Englishmen had. Okay, so this whole idea of representative government, democratic style government, is not unique to the United States. It's not unique to America. We took a lot of this stuff, or brought a lot of this stuff with us from England when we came over here. And lastly, in case you're wondering, you don't have to write any of that stuff down right there. That's free. I'm not going to charge you for that. And then lastly, religion played into this idea of representation and democracy as well. The First Great Awakening took place during the revolutionary time period here in America, and preachers like Jonathan Edwards went around the country preaching in open fields. They really encouraged people to read the Bible, and they taught this idea of equality, that all people were created equal in God's eyes, and that we all should be represented and protected by our governments. So religion also plays a part in this whole concept that we are now talking about. Okay, so that's it for today. Once again, you don't have to write anything down from this page. That was free of charge as well. You just needed to get that information about the Mayflower Compact, Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, and the Virginia House of Burgesses in there. All right, so that's it. Have a good weekend. Have a good Labor Day. Hope to see a lot of you in class on Tuesday.